Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Chicago Techies podcast, a podcast focused on highlighting the voices of Chicago Techies and their experiences. I'm your host, Ceci Benitez, and I'm really excited to have you here. I also want to give you a heads up. Our audio is still a little funky because of our virtual chats, but I hope you still enjoy it. On today's episode, I have another friend of mine. His name is Rishabh Krishna. He is a senior software engineer at Innova. Thank you, Rishabh, for joining me on this journey and this new podcast that I got going on. I've been looking forward to chatting with you all week, and I'm excited to learn even more about you, and for the audience to also get to know who you are and your journey. I think I was so thrilled to meet you initially when we first met because at the beginning, I'm going to be completely honest, when you join a new organization, you feel like you gravitate to the people that look like you, right? Like the people, you want to get to know them first and see what their journey is like. And so you don't go out of your way to meet other people that are different than you. When I met you, we didn't initially talk right away, but we talked after a few weeks. And then when I finally started to get to know you and talking to you about your values and the things that you believe in and the things that you appreciate and enjoy, I was floored. I was like, wait, this guy is so much like myself. And we are, he's just like me. And he's like, we believe in the same things. And it's just like, I really had to check my own biases about people that I don't immediately approach. And I was so thrilled to kind of meet someone like you and like that I wouldn't normally think would go out of my way to do that. So
thank you. It means so much.
And I really wanted to talk about that because I feel like we don't really gravitate to those people at first.
You're so right. There are a lot of biases that we are just not aware of until we face them, it's just nice to have a self check.
Yeah.
So thank you, Ceci.
Yeah, it's good to connect with people and have these open and honest conversations because that's really how you get to know that person.
Yep.
But anyway, so let's get started. So why don't we start with your name, your pronouns, where you're from, and whatever you like to share.
Sure. So thank you, Ceci, for having me, first of all. My name is Rishabh Krishna. My pronouns are he, him, his. I was born and brought up in a small town back in India. It's called Ranchi. Growing up, it was like a typical, Indian household where your parents are trying to shape your future.
Yeah.
Grades are so important and things like that.
So what was it like to grow up in India for you from a young age until about college?
Sure. As I was saying, a typical household, it was more like, good grades are important because if you don't get good grades, a typical middle class is not going to get a job. And if you're not going to get a job, you're not going to be successful and all those kind of things. Also, I was born and brought up in a joint family. So like a big family where all the uncles and aunts stayed together. So everybody knew my grades. And my parents, they are the eldest in their family. So my mom is the eldest in her family. My dad is the eldest in his family. So I was the eldest in like the combined family as well. So there was a lot of unsaid pressure. I will not deny that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think so they imposed it on me. It was more like self-imposed, but there was some pressure. There definitely was some pressure.
I can imagine. I can imagine all of your family knowing your grades. That's terrifying to me.
It is terrifying. Like, so this was the other reason why I never had to go out to like a tuition or coaching, other than school, like, because I had help at home. My uncles would help me with mathematics. My mom would help me with arts and science and dad would help with mathematics too. So it was never like I can like hide my report card or my grades with people. So it it was fun. It was fun, but I think it was a pressure scenario. Like, okay, why aren't you doing good in mathematics? Why aren't you doing good in science? A
Yeah.
typical Indian household. Yeah, trust me on that.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious about you mentioned already, college. And I know that you actually did go to college in India, but then you also came to America for your master's degree, right?
Yes, that's
Can
correct.
you talk about that college process in India versus the process here in the US and what made you decide to come to the US for your master's?
Definitely, definitely. That is one of the defining moments of my life. So, uh, growing up, this was the thing that my parents, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Indian parents tell their children, is like, high school is what's important. Once you get through high school, everything is a bed of roses. Not true. When you go to college, it's the same stuff. Oh, you just need to breeze through college and then you land a job and everything is, set and through. That's not the case. That is never the case. So it's always a constant, learning experience or struggle. And you always have to like level up. If life's a game, you kind of just level up every time. Um, the the thing in India is it's a hugely populated country, so there's a lot of competition right from the point you're growing up. I always knew I wanted to get into, an engineering college. The process was a little bit intimidating, I would say, because you apply for all these engineering colleges and then there are entrance examinations that are separate. So you kind of take those exams, and let's say there are like 100,000 students appearing each year, and the good colleges are done in like the top 5%, so like 20,000. And there are different universities who hold different examinations, but as of today, I think it's more like a unified one. The difference from the education system, I would say there was not a lot of uh, practical experience or, like field experience, internship opportunities kind of things in India as compared to here. One of the reasons why I wanted to come for a master's to America was because of the cultural mix. I really wanted to experience the different types of cultures and that cultural exchange to just learn more. I mean, I could have got a degree at any other country, but the kind of cultural mix that is there in America, and that's what I think was more lucrative to me. Because if it's not home, it's away. It's Europe or America or South America or someplace. But that was one thing that I really wanted to experience, and I've been really blessed to have great friends.
So you mentioned that you wanted to go into engineering in an early age. Like how
Yes,
young were you when you knew?
I think about, yeah, eighth or ninth grade.
Eighth or ninth grade. That's young.
That was young. Yes. So the other thing was I liked mathematics. I really love mathematics. Precursor to that, I really love music.
Mhm.
So mathematics was the only thing which I could, you know, study and listen to music at the same time. Because for everything else, I would have to kind of read. But mathematics was more like practicing once you know the theorems, the laws, even physics, uh, chemistry, balancing equations for those matters. So those things were like, okay, these are the things that I can do if I'm listening to music. And then I think we were introduced to programming in the sixth grade. The language I think was Basic. I think it was Basic up until my 10th grade, and 11th, 12th was C, C++. Uh, that was the time when I, enjoyed more programming because uh, I didn't have a computer until my first year of engineering, like the freshman year. So uh, the only time I had was write and practice all the programs that I could on like paper, like today's interviews, whiteboarding. And then whenever you have the lab, which was at max 1 hour or maybe 2 hours a week. And that is all the time I had to like run everything. So that was an incentive, and I was like, yeah, I think I like this stuff. Computer games was the other thing. I didn't have a computer. There were only computer games at the university, I mean at my school, uh, which my computer teacher was lenient enough for me, because her idea was, if you can finish whatever assignment I have given you, you can play a game. And the only game that was available that time was VCOP 2. It was called Virtual Cop 2. Very basic. You right click, it loads the gun, and then you shoot the bad guys. But I loved it. Maybe
That's
then.
that's so different from like Mexico, because in Mexico we didn't have like even an introduction to any kind of computer, like from first to seventh grade.
Okay.
Sixth grade actually. I went to school in Mexico from first to sixth grade,
Uh-huh.
and then I moved here in seventh and eighth grade. But even here in seventh and eighth grade, I only learned typing. They only taught us typing.
Okay.
So India was like way ahead of like anyone else.
Well, I went to a private school though, so I don't think so. The government schools even today, I mean, they are definitely doing better than the back in the day. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience moving to the US, and how was that process like for you? Because I honestly have no idea what how
Okay.
visas work, or how any, like how.
Yes. Yeah, it was a tedious process. I have no shame in saying that. It was a tedious process. It was also a little bit financially exhaustive. So the process back in the day started with, you had to take a GRE, which was graduate record examination, and then a TOEFL, which was test of English as a foreign language. And that was just like 2%. I mean, it was portrayed that this is the thing that you have to get done. But once you do that, then you have to go and get letters of recommendations from your your professors, even your friends. The problem was, even in 2012, well, 11ish or 10ish, when I started the process, it was I mean, my professors were still not very, tech savvy, where being in different cities, I can work with them on emails to get my recommendations and stuff like that. So that was one part which was like, I mean, that also taught me the lesson of, you should network, you should stay in touch, you should build relations, because how else are you going to get letters of recommendation or guidance from people? That was one. The next was uh, showing like financial records, that when you're coming to a different country, a new country, you can take care of all your expenses, living as well as tuition. And honestly, those figures, I personally believe, are a little bloated, because the idea is you're going to probably live by yourself, own a car, and things like that. So all those expenses add up. But I was coming as like a student, so I didn't have a lot of expectation that, oh, I'm going to live a life. My whole idea was, I'm going to do a master's. Uh, Masters was like first semester cultural shock, trying to get to know the culture, which you have seen in movies and heard in talks, but it's a very different thing experiencing it firsthand. Second semester was, well, you need to work on your grades, trying to make up for the last semester, and then look for internships or co-ops, like extended internship. By the time you're done with that, it's a quarter away when you're ready to graduate.
So why don't we switch gears and talk about the resources that have helped you along the way in your career, either here in the United States or in India, whatever you want to talk about.
Sure, definitely. So, for my tech roles, I would say my mentorships have been really, really meaningful. The best resource around you are people, and as much as you can, utilize those people around you and their experiences, I consider them the best resources. I do a lot of philosophical reading and stuff like that here and there. So this thing that I had read once, that every child is born into this world by knowing only how to breathe. Everything else is acquired over the period of time, and they are all experiences. So it doesn't matter if you are young or old, or mid-age or whatever. It's all about experiences. A lot of times I've seen people being stuck on, oh, my mentor needs to be a little bit maybe older, more experienced than me. Well, they don't have to go hand in hand. Age and experience doesn't have to come hand in hand. It can be separate, and that's what's important. So uh, I mean, a simple example is my cousins. They are way younger. They are way good with, photography and Instagram and all these cool stuff. I'm not, but if I want to learn something of that, maybe tomorrow I want to do a food blogging using Instagram. I would probably not find anybody older than me who's doing that as efficiently as my cousins who are way younger and way more experienced.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's actually one of the things that Jimena and I talked about, and Jimena.
Oh,
So
yes.
we talked about mentorship and how we don't believe that someone older than you has to be a mentor. It can be it can be a peer mentorship relationship that you have with anyone else. So that's exciting. I would love to see a Rishabh foodie blog. I think.
I can try. I can try. I don't know if I got to tell you. I went plant-based in November.
What?
And I've been trying to stick with veganism.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's working good. I mean, honestly, I used to love meat, but I was watching a lot of documentaries and reading a lot of
Don't tell me
blogs and books. Yeah, I
don't
would.
tell me that, because my mom, if I went in that route, my mom would disown me.
Well,
no, but
I hear you.
All the Mexican food is just like, no, nah, bro.
I completely agree. I mean, it's easier for me because I'm away from home. Like, I mean, when I say home, I mean India, home, Ranchi.
Yeah.
But if I go back, I don't know what I'll be doing there because people are going to try to feed me stuff. But for now, I'm like trying to stick to it.
Yeah. Let's transition into what have been some of the struggles that you faced in the tech industry, kind of as an immigrant, as someone that holds a visa,
Sure.
as someone that is not originally from here. What are some of the struggles that you've faced?
The initial struggles were basically, getting job interviews. Like, I was not used to networking and reaching out to people on LinkedIn. It was I only had one job right out of college. That was one challenge, where accepting that it's okay to reach out and there's no shame in asking people for help or mentorship program, because uh, there's this saying that if you want to know how well you understand something, try explaining it to somebody else. Because if you cannot explain it to somebody else in a good way, probably you don't understand it either. So it goes the same way for the person who's either mentoring you or trying to help you, trying to find a job or trying to coach you, things like that. So the first struggle was maybe a cultural bias that I don't think so I'm comfortable asking for help. Um, then I think was the other one that comes to mind is, when you're looking for a job and applying for jobs, all these job descriptions and requirements that you see, they were really overwhelming, especially for somebody who was not around from here or who had just moved in a couple of years ago, was still trying to get used to stuff. It was overwhelming, especially with the fact that, for example, let's say I had 3 years of experience back in India, and when I was looking for a role for uh, like a 2 year experience position or something, uh, the amount of requirements that was specified in the job description was, I mean, humanly impossible. It felt like they required technology A, B, C, and D, and then you should also have some experience with some infrastructure, with cloud platforms, with a hybrid model, and this and that. And I was like, am I supposed to know this, like with a 2 year experience, which kind of uh, starts arising this feeling of self-doubt. And I was like, I mean, are people out in the industry know things like this in just 2 years? And I was like, that's no way. I mean, it's like the company saying, had you worked for us for like last 2 years, you would have worked with all these things. And I know that's not true. I mean, unless the company is just holding a 2 year training session for you, where it's trying to just educate you with everything, that's not possible. So after a while, I just started ignoring the requirements, not the job description, which we'll come to later, but I just started ignoring the job requirements and only focused on the description and just applied to anything that I was remotely interested in. And it was surprising how many calls I got when I didn't even meet half the requirements on paper. Uh, and they went well, and we proceeded with the interview round. So that first hurdle of being intimidated by this description was just blown away. And even with the description, I think, having worked in the industry for some time now, it's very much like the position that you enter as is definitely not going to be the same a year from now. You're going to definitely be working into an evolved role after a year or so. So one should not beat oneself up for, oh, am I going to be good enough for this project? Am I going to be good enough for the team? It's okay. Everybody's learning. Everybody's trying to get the job done. So yeah, that was one thing.
Yeah, I mean that's humbling that you also had that overwhelming sensation, because I don't know if you know, but they're like women, like most women feel like if they don't meet all of those requirements, they're not going to apply. But a man usually would look at the descriptions and the requirements, and if they meet like 4 of the 20 or 4 of the 10,
Yeah.
4 of the 10, they would apply immediately. And that, I think that's the difference between immigrants and women and minorities, really, versus
I agree.
them. And that's humbling that you also kind of had that experience. So you are a senior software engineer, and it took you, your career has been long. It's a long process to get there as a senior software engineer. I want you to think back to before you started that one role where you became a software engineer. Looking back, what would you say to yourself?
Couple of things. One, which I think we should just remind ourselves even today, every day, is that people are going to judge you anyway. There is only so much that is in your control, which is like hard work and self persistence. The outcome is never in your control, so there's no point creating a fuss about it or just beating yourself up about it. Even if even if you do your best, the outcome might not be what you were expecting, and then people are going to judge you anyway. There's this one quote which I feel, had I known sooner, I would have been happier was that one day reality will be better than your dreams. Uh, and that is like goes back to the same points that the outcome is not in your control. You're going to be judged anyway. So one day reality will be better than your dreams. It is going to be, and it might be different, but it's again going to be a new experience. So
I like that. I
yeah,
think we all get so wrapped up in wanting to be perfect and wanting to do well, and
yes,
sometimes it's okay if you can't.
yeah, definitely. I mean, uh, as I was saying, self-doubt is the worst doubt, because when you start doubting yourself, you start beating yourself up. Just take it easy on yourself. Like, it's okay. You messed up, fine. Everybody messes up. So what? Nothing. It goes on. Life goes on, or whatever you're on goes on. As long as you don't give up on yourself, you'll make it.
Yeah. So let's move to what's next for you. What's next for Rishabh, and what are your future goals? What do you have in mind?
I mean, definitely guitar at some point. I want to learn how to play guitar, maybe keyboard. I don't know. Uh, I and given this quarantine time, I think those are the things that I think about. Like, I should probably get to those things sooner than later, because you never know.
Yeah.
I also want to see a healthier version of myself in time, like work out, eat healthy, just feel better, more present in the moment, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Well, let me just say
Yeah.
that you are a super cool person already. So,
Thank you.
you ride bikes, you ride motorcycles, and now you're a
Thank
rock
you.
star. And now you want to be a rock star. What's next? I think that's awesome. I mean, Rishabh, you don't have to be that cool. You're already cool.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Ceci. That means a lot. What do I want to do next? I I don't know if I'll be able to get to it, but as I said, reality will be better than your dreams. I really want to open up a restaurant because I like to cook. Um, and I want to do stand-up comedy at some point,
Nice.
because I think I have a lot of content from life in general, and I never shy away from making a fool of myself, and I don't feel bad about it. I think that's the main ingredient for stand-up comedy. I don't need a third person to make fun of. I think I can make fun of myself and make people laugh, and make them relate to it. So yeah, maybe that.
That's
But
awesome.
who knows? Thanks,
I mean, you are in Chicago. You're in,
I
in the
know
second
the
city.
second city. Yeah. Jinx.
We are the second city here. So
I
why
know.
not?
Why not? I agree. I agree.
How can people connect with you if they want to stay in
Oh,
touch? How
can
LinkedIn?
people connect? Yes. Thank you. LinkedIn. I don't know, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Yeah, I mean all the social media networks. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
and
much available.
I will put all of those links on the show notes so that people can see where to find you and how to reach you.
Sure, definitely.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Rishabh, for jumping on this call with me and chatting with me. I really
Definitely.
appreciate you and everything that you do in the community and all the work that you've done.
Thank you, Ceci. Completely my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Chicago Techies podcast. We really enjoyed talking to Rishabh about his career trajectory and obstacles along the way. We especially like the advice that he shared with his younger self about not beating yourself up if you make any mistakes, because at the end of the day, life goes on. As long as you don't give up on yourself, you'll find a way to make it work. If you enjoyed listening, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review on iTunes. Let's continue the conversation on Twitter and Instagram. Follow us at Chicago Techies on all social media platforms. Thank you again, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.